Welcome to the Real Weird Sickos podcast. My name is Charles Kahn. I am the meme bastard, infamous shit poster among the stars. Oh, Jenna, my lovely co-host. Jenna, tell everybody how great things are.
Are they? It's raining.
Oh, a rainy day in California at this time of year?
Yeah. Fucking
I
sucks.
don't believe it.
You better believe it, buddy.
I don't believe it.
You better believe it.
You know what else I don't believe?
What?
We got a special guest, our good friend.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah, good pal, Boogie2988, trending gamer from 2016.
2016 is right. That's about last time I trended. Hey,
now, what have you been doing since then?
Hold on, let me do a wrestle thing. I can do that. Okay.
Oh, you can do a wrestle? All right, wrestle.
Let me tell you something, Wings of Redemption. I'm gonna box you in the ring, and when I knock you down, you're not gonna get back up because you're fat. Let me tell you something. I'm gonna do to your face what you did to your own career.
Oh, shit.
Powerful words from Boogie2988 about wings of redemption. Yeah, rings of redemption. Hello, it's me. I'm Ween Gene. Oh, I don't feel so good.
So when's the fight? So when does all this go down? I don't even know.
So Keemstar announced it on a podcast the other day. May the 13th is when we're supposed to be in London. All the paperwork has still got to get finished up and signed. But I sure as hell ain't backing out. I don't think Jordy's backing out. I think this is actually going to happen. And I'm going to be honest with you. I'm kind of proud of myself for finally following through with this. And I'm actually really proud of Jordy for following through with this.
Yeah,
right?
I love seeing you guys doing stuff like working. Like you guys, even if you guys don't get in like crazy, like ab shape, like Gamer from Mars, like that kind of shape. If you guys got in better shape where you get around a little better,
dude, here's what's going to happen. Let me tell you what the fight's going to be. Okay, I'm already going to tell you. Okay, it's going to be two of the fattest people you've ever seen in the boxing ring. You're going to think, is this is this WWE from the fucking 1980s? That's what you're going to think, and it's not. Because we're going to be wearing boxing gloves, okay? And I definitely can't move very well yet, but I can hit pretty hard. And so it's going to be two butter beans going at each other. And I think one of us is going to get knocked down. Once I get knocked down, I'm not getting back up. I'm fat as hell, okay? Unless there's a crane on site, I don't know how I'm getting up, okay? But that said, I plan on not getting knocked down. I plan on knocking his ass down, and I know Jordy ain't getting up. He doesn't get out of his chair now, much less out of the floor once he's in it.
Oh shit!
You know,
that's crazy.
So. But I think it's gonna be hilarious. I think it's gonna be. I've often said, like, I was really heavily inspired by Andy Kaufman, the old comedian from a long, long time ago. If you don't know who that is, look him up. Look up some clips on YouTube. You're gonna love it.
He worked a program in Tennessee. In Memphis, Tennessee, the Mid-South territory with Jerry Lawler, that, Jenna, it is some of the greatest pro wrestling I've ever seen.
He only wrestled women. Do you remember this? He would only wrestle women. And he called himself... Okay, so here's the shit. He was a comedian, and he was a troll. And he found things funny that other people didn't. And the less funny other people found it, the more funny he found it. So as long as he was making himself laugh, he didn't care. And he ended up ruining his own career by making up his own stupid jokes and doing this own stupid stuff. And the thing that really wrecked his career is he wanted to get into professional wrestling. And so he had an angle, and him and Lawler were in like cahoots with it. So he showed up in Memphis and he got in the ring and he's like, you know what I want to do? I want to wrestle a woman in this ring because women never wrestle. I can beat any woman out here. And then that's all he would do. He would go to these shows and demand that women, generally obviously plants on the audience, but still, he would demand these women come into the ring and wrestle him. And eventually Lawler called him out on his shit, which is, of course, what they scripted. And then him and Lawler ended up on the David Letterman Tonight Show. And it's one of the coolest things I've ever seen in my life because Lawler decks Kaufman. It's like so good.
He slapped the absolute taste out of his mouth. I mean, just busted him hard. You see, and to his credit, Kaufman sold it like it killed him. He's already wearing he had done the pile driver on him, which was, Lawler's famous move, which him doing the pile driver is one of the safest people that could ever do it to you. But Kaufman sold it like he was crippled. He had this, what do they call those? The big neck brace on. And he's sitting there with Letterman, and he throws a cup of coffee in Lawler's face. Lawler gets up, slaps the piss out of Kaufman. Kaufman flops ass over tea kettle out of that chair, laying on the ground, like screaming, holding his neck. Just makes it look like he's been killed. Letterman's freaking out. Everybody's going crazy. It's one of the best moments Letterman ever had on that show.
And so, that's what I was thinking about this boxing match, right? Like, I've kind of thought about what I've gone through over the last few years as my Andy Kaufman art, because I definitely made some jokes that did not land, but they were definitely funny to me. I've done some stuff that other people definitely did not like, and I feel like people want to see me get the shit beat out of me. And so,
or right? You have to. Like, there's a lot of people that want to see Wings get the shit kicked out of him too. So
that's true.
You have
the living shit out of Wings.
Who wants more? Yeah.
I think there's a very real possibility, because I have yet to see any footage of like Wings doing his work, man. But I'm on my bag 10 times a day now, and I can only go for a couple minutes at a time for I'm exhausted. But I'm building my back strength. I'm building my leg strength. I'm definitely building some punch strength. My technique is terrible, but he's not working with a boxing trainer either, so I don't think either of us is going to have technique. I don't know. I think it's a possibility that I could come out ahead on this. So I'm going to try.
You got a chance.
If he's not doing anything and you're doing a little bit, you're just doing a little bit more, that's enough for, something.
I mean, you don't have to go crazy.
What's your height? What's your height difference or anything? Do you know?
I think he's probably a little bit taller than me. I'm 5'9.5", close to 5'10", so he's probably taller than me.
Under 6 feet, huh?
He's definitely younger than me, and he's definitely smaller weight-wise than me. So he has all the advantages if he does any work. The only hope I have is I do some work to get into that ring.
Is he lazier than you? That's your advantage.
Yes.
Just don't be lazy.
Yes, he is. He's definitely lazier than me. It's a contest. Don't get me wrong. I give him run for his money.
How long have you been training?
I've been trying to get my mobility back for like a year.
Okay. I remember that because it was like you were. I remember you kind of doing a few things like
it was like when it was and stuff. It was
when it was supposed to be for like the Sam Hyde one,
Yeah, which I knew right away was never going to actually happen because like Sam Hyde would fucking kill me.
He's he is a monster of a man.
I think he would accidentally kill me. Like I don't think he would try.
He's a big bulky guy. He's all muscle.
He might skin you and wear you as a dress or something. Like he might do that. He might not kill you.
Okay, so with all so you've been training with this. You've been doing some, you're just you're on your bag like a few times a day. So when you guys are probably just finalizing, a lot of the paperwork. So when all this goes down, is it because this is going to be a sanctioned fight, so there's going to be a physician that's going to approve all of this, right?
Yes.
Okay, so is there any contradictions maybe even with your own personal primary care physician? Is there anything going on with that?
I talked to my primary care physician. He strongly suggested I do not do this. I asked, here's the conversation we had. I'm like, hey man, can I do this? He goes, you're asking the wrong question, Steve. I'm like, well, what question should I be asking? Is you should be asking, should you do this? And the answer is absolutely no. And I'm like, what's the risk? He's like, a stroke, a heart attack, broken jaw, broken neck, more back pain, more like misery for the rest of your life. This could end your life. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, cool. But can I do it? That's what I want to know. Can I do this? And he's like, lose some weight, train, get some exercise, take your medication, eat your vitamins. But
say your prayers, brother.
But I think a doctor will reluctantly approve it. Giving
Eddie
everything
Izzard,
I'm facing.
he might have been a little older even. He started running a marathon. Like he wanted to do a 5K or 25K. I can't remember. It was something crazy like that. And just started just completely cold, had no idea what he was doing. And he did it.
When it comes to stuff like that, do you want to know my thought process is? Okay, this could kill me, but you know what would definitely kill me? Time. Also just sitting here on my fat ass playing video games all day, that's definitely going to kill me. So like if I die trying to get better, if I die fighting for my life, if I die trying to like do something with myself instead of sit here and rot away then that's a good death. That's a good way to go, right? Like it's not a good way to go.
It's totally worth the risk. Like
right,
I was also just, I mean, I was wondering how this was going to play out with, because like sometime later last year, you talked about your diagnosis with polycythemia, right?
Yes, polycythemia vera, which is
AIDS. He's got AIDS, everybody. And let's just talk about it. He's got AIDS. What's it like living with AIDS in 2023, Boogie?
You know, it's not. It's not AIDS.
It is the AIDS.
It's a rare form of
it's HIV.
It causes
we all know HIV is AIDS.
Explain what it is. Boogie, explain what it is.
He's got HPV too.
So it's a rare bone cancer that causes my bone marrow to create too many red blood cells, and so I have a really high red blood cell count, which has a very similar effect to like being diabetic does on your blood. It gives you a much bigger risk of stroke or heart attack. And like the off chance risk is that it could turn into leukemia, but it's probably not going to.
It probably won't long
enough.
But it definitely is putting... It does put you at risk for clotting, so you could, have a stroke, heart attack, something like that.
So we've done everything that my doctor wants to do in terms of like getting my red blood cell count down. We changed my medications. We started taking a blood thinner. We started changing what I eat. I can't eat as much iron-rich food as I like to eat anymore, and change the way I sleep, change the way I exercise, change the way I live, and it's helping. And my red blood cell count is just above high. Right, like it's not as high as it was.
Not too bad.
So if I keep doing this, like, and there's other options. If it started thickening back up again, we could do like the bloodletting thing, where they once a week I go in and they take a few pints of blood, throw it away. No, like straight up needles. I wish it was leeches. That would be cool. But they just take your blood, but they can't donate it. I guess they throw it in the trash, which is just a huge waste of free blood. There's a vampire out there who's going to be real pissed.
You're clotting. They can't give it to somebody if it's going to coagulate.
They do like my uncle that raises hogs, Jenna. Okay, they string him up and let him drain.
You know what you can do? You can go in and give plasma and tell them not to put the red blood cells back in. You can tell them I have polycythemia vera. Take my plasma, use it for research, use it for burn victims, but don't give me the red blood cell count. Give me the blood cells back.
Because I mean, like a strenuous activity with all of this and throwing out a clot. Like, what happens if you stroke out in the ring?
The same thing that happens if I stroke out here in my house. I probably die, or I don't, and it's really messy, right?
But if it happens in the ring, he dies a legend, Jenna. If it happens at his house, he dies like, oh, Boogie died. Oh.
Right, yeah.
We were talking about somebody before the show that had died as online guy.
He's sitting down, he's less likely to stroke out and die at home.
Yeah, but it's less exciting, Jenna. In front of everybody, surrounded by whores, boxing Wings of Redemption.
See, here's the thing about life that I have figured out
recently. He comes down to the ring with whores.
Okay. Oh God, I'm so planned to. I need a ring girl. Listen, there's a ring girl that lives in London that wants to show up that day and be my ring girl. Please, you will be my ring girl.
What's Mia Khalifa and Riley Reid up to? You can get them.
Please,
there's an amount of money that Keemstar can pay to get the finest hoochie mamas available to escort Boogie and Wings down to the ring.
They already lined up.
God, I hope so.
I mean, I'm wondering how getting approval from just even the sanctioned fight for the fight doctor. I'm wondering how but even then, you have to think about it this way.
I'm the doctor. I think it's just fine. This Boogie fellow and Wings.
No, listen, Charles. A doctor.
I'm not Charles. I'm the doctor.
God damn you. A doctor that is going to approve somebody putting themselves this much at risk.
That's my kind of doctor. That's my kind of doctor.
Ooh,
no, here's what
just fine.
Listen.
You, bud.
We're not doing 5 rounds of like creator clash murder here. We're not doing what KSI is doing.
Creator clash is not
like
murder.
2-minute rounds. I don't know. Did you see how iDubbbz came out? Oh, you seen how Logan Paul comes out? Like that's
I'm gonna tell you right now,
Logan
Boogie.
Paul, but the rest of them were just kind of like these are people that don't know anything about fighting.
2 minutes is a long time.
But these were young. But these are young guys. They don't have a lot of health problems. They're not people that have a long history of health problems. And I'm just like, what kind of doctor is going to put their license at fucking risk?
Listen, we're talking about Keemstar.
To me,
we're talking about Keemstar. You think he can't find that doctor?
Oh,
he will find that doctor. There's going to be a doctor in England who's like, I would like very much to have some cocaine or something. I don't know.
Oh, there's no cocaine in England, Boogie. It's illegal there.
Wait, is it?
The days of Sherlock Holmes are long behind us, pal.
Oh my god! Yeah,
drugs are bad, kids.
That was just my only thing because
that's my biggest concern. I think that's a roadblock.
You're such a huge risk.
Yeah, but at the end of the day,
if he can't do it in London, he can do it in Abu Dhabi or somewhere. Like there's somewhere in the world where Boogie and Wings of Redemption, maybe they fight in a parking lot. It's an unsanctioned brawl.
Oh, dude! I wanted to be a WWE wrestler when I was growing up. WWF, I should say, but
yeah,
yeah. So here's a true story. Growing up. There was not a lot of fat people. I mean, there was me and like John Candy, who wasn't even all that big, I guess, compared to me now or whatever. But there was like there was a handful of fatties in the world. And so I was like, what can fatties do for a living? Like, I don't see them on television. Right. So I guess they can be entertainers. They can be comedians. They can be singers. They can be
Sam
wrestlers.
Kinison. Yeah.
Well, for the life of me, I cannot sing. So that's not going to happen. Maybe I could be a rapper. I learned to rap. The Fat Boys were a thing back then, right? And I'm like, I could be John Candy, but I'm nowhere near as funny or as nice as John Candy. I'm not as funny as Sam Kinison. So maybe I could do this wrestling thing because there were some big dudes back there, like Animal Steel and King Kong Bundy, and the big guy. It was big
Shockmaster. Then. Oh, the Shockmaster's. The Shockmaster's the greatest clip in all of professional wrestling, Boogie. It was Dusty Rhodes' brother-in-law. He had a cush gig for him. All he's got to do is put on this mask. He's going to come through this wall, and he's going to be the guy who's going to rescue Sting and the British Bulldog, who have been getting their asses whooped by these bad guys for months. And as soon as he comes through the wall, he falls just ass over in, flat on his face. The helmet rolls off of him, and he has to scramble to try to put the helmet back on. There's another guy, I think it was Ole Anderson, was off screen doing a Dr. Claw voice, trying to be like this evil, cool, badass wrestling voice, but it didn't come together right. And the helmet, Dusty had told the guys, listen, get like a Stormtrooper helmet, spray paint it, put some glitter on it, make it look nice. Well, they went to the supermarket and bought a Stormtrooper helmet, spray painted it silver, and just absolutely covered this thing with glitter to where you couldn't see. And that was the helmet that he had. It did not look nice. And when he falls ass over in, Boogie just trips through this wall. It is the death of that gimmick. Like that character was dead on arrival. Done. And it's the greatest moment in all of professional wrestling.
That actually sounds kind of heartbreaking to me. That guy.
It is. He had a worse gimmick than that. He was Tugboat in the WWF. This was a WCW moment. You actually hear on tape as it happens, Ric Flair goes, "Oh God," because he knows. Like Sid Vicious, he's still, bless his heart, he's yelling his ass off, like, "You can't be through this wall, boy. I'll whoop you, boy." Like he's doing the wrestler thing, like he's going for it. Sting and the other guys like covering their faces, like, "Oh God, he fell on his head." Like the helmet rolls off and the scrambling to try to get it, and they gave him this vest, like a furry adventurer vest, and it just, his guts hanging out. It was a bad look. It was a bad idea. WCW at different times had the absolute greatest of professional wrestling fuck-ups like that. And that's the best moment. You want to talk about a real weird sicko? Having your whole everything, all of wrestling just in that, it's not even 30 seconds of just, here's the guy, he's going to shock you, and he comes through that wall and just boom, helmet rolls off. He's got to scramble to grab it and get it back on, and it just done, dead.
Looking back on all of that wrestling stuff, all of that was weird though. The weirdest to me to this day was the whole Undertaker thing.
Yeah, he's an Old West Undertaker who decides he's going to whoop people's ass.
But then he's like a corpse, and he's like, his soul is in an urn. Like I wasn't watching during that period of time. Like when I was watching, it was like Junkyard Dog, Ultimate Warrior, Andre the Giant. I saw Andre the Giant wrestle at Freedom Hall, Tennessee, man. And he wrestled Jake the Snake, dude. It was a good time. It was a good show.
Well, that's the one. See, Jenna, you have to understand. Andre the Giant liked Jake the Snake for whatever reason, and he said, "Oh, this will be good. We'll put Jake over," because that's how wrestling works. We'll put Jake over. he'll pull out the snake, and then that'll be my weakness. I'll be terrified of snakes. And so Andre the Giant would be absolutely mortified by the snake, and that's how Jake would beat him. Or like he'd run away from the ring, like, you know, because later in the run, like Andre the Giant was having like some real bad health problems. Like he couldn't really get around a whole lot. Like even when he did that movie, the Princess Bride,
one of my favorite. That is like maybe my favorite film. Andre is so good in that.
Oh, that movie is one of those ones that just comes together so perfectly. There's so much great. The first 30 minutes alone, just that adventure of him going up the hill to rescue the girl, you know, fighting the Spaniard, fighting the giant, and then fighting the Sicilian. Like that you want to talk about encounter building in D&D. Like that's it exactly. And then having him do the babyface turn later in the movie when he needs buddies. It's so good. Such a great movie.
Dungeons and Dragons is pretty much just WWE the way I run it, if I'm being honest with you.
Yeah, there's jabronis, and then there's the credible real threats.
Yeah.
That's how I run it. There's the guys like Kamala who are big and menacing, but ultimately their job is to lose, Jenna. Like they're there to look as credible and mean as possible.
I'll be honest with you, the way I run D&D, I can't get anybody to play. I had a friend come to me and he's like, dude, you should do one of those D&D podcasts. You're one of my favorite DMs I've ever played with. I'm like, dude, you no one's going to want to listen to me torture people. Because, okay, the only thing I run is Ravenloft to begin with. And I don't run this new friendly mamby-pamby bullshit Ravenloft, okay, where everybody gets loot and everybody lives. No, dude, I'm talking old school, second edition, powers checks every time you fuck up. You hand me your character because that shit, he's lost his soul. He will be an NPC you will fight at level 20. Like, dude, if you survive an encounter, that was your reward. You don't get a magic sword. Your character didn't die. That's the reward. We're playing survival fucking horror here, folks. I don't know if people would want to hear that or not, but that's how I like to play, man.
If I could talk Jenna into playing a Dark Sun campaign with us. Oh.
Dark Sun! Oh my God.
I so don't have the time to play D&D.
Oh, Jenna, I don't have the time to wipe my ass. Like I let it hang on there. Like a dog with all those dingleberries. It just hangs.
Dude, make time. Okay, that's the thing about life. Okay, if you want to do something, you got to make it happen. And there's nothing more important than making a Dark Sun campaign happen. You know, you start off in Dark Sun with a bone and some rags. That's it. It's a desert planet where the plants will kill you with their minds. Okay, it is. You want to talk about
it's
pure
just D&D rust.
Hell.
Yeah, level 1 D&D, you go out and kill some rats. Level 20, you go out and kill God.
Yeah,
that's what D&D is.
Yeah, Dark Sun, man, I'd forgot that existed. That, and they brought back Spelljammer, and Spelljammer was the weirdest shit. It's literally Dungeons and Dragons in space. I still to this day cannot fucking. So my best campaign that I ever ran, it ran for about a year and a half in college, and we made it all like level 18, 19 in that neighborhood until
2E. Which edition is this?
Second edition.
Okay,
and
good. Okay.
No dart spec, because fuck dart specs. If you know, you know. All right. But anyway, we ended up doing like the Spelljammer thing, and we ended up multiversal. It sounds like there's other ways to go multiversal than Spelljammer, so they ended up staying mostly on the ground after that. But they ended up meeting like a half giant from Dark Sun. They ended up going to Forgotten Realms for a while. They ended up in Ravenloft and then basically tried to take it over because they were always evil characters anyway.
Of course.
So I'm like, well, you failed your powers check. Good. I'd like to fail some more. I'm like, you're real close to losing your character. And they're like, why? Why would I lose my character? We've always been pieces of shit. And I'm like, you're not wrong. And so my favorite thing that the Psionicist did is like she went into a town where there was a murderer on the loose, and she was a psionicist, so she literally used her death field ability. She called a town meeting and then used the death field ability, killing the town, and then went, well, murderer's probably dead. We can
Problem
leave.
Solved.
Problems that you guys wanted to get rid of the murderer, huh? Well, he's dead. Start looting, half giants.
Yeah, the third edition game that I played in, there was a big dungeon. And I was a pirate, and I said, well, I've got all this blasting powder on my boat. Why can't we roll these in there and then have the wizard fire a fireball at it and just collapse the whole dungeon? And that's what we did.
That's creative storytelling. That's creative storytelling. That's what we're here to do. That's the entire point. The shortest game I ever ran, I went down to a game shop on a Friday night, and I'm like, hey guys, I'm bored with Magic. Do you guys want to play some D&D? We had 4 players roll up different characters, but the specific character that mattered was a guy who wanted to roll up a wild mage. And he named himself the Cheese Whiz. If you know, you know. So anyway, the very first encounter, he casts the wild spell, the one that always just rolls on the wild chart. There's nothing else it can do. He's not trying to cast like magic missile or anything and wild surging. He just rolls on the wild surge chart. And he rolls like double, like 98 or something, which opens a pit underneath him, centered on him, 6 foot by 6 foot by 6 foot, square cubed pit. And second edition D&D, which I was running at the time, you fall 6 feet, you take damage. So, or maybe it was 10 foot by 10 foot. You drop 10 foot, you take damage. Anyway, the entire party ends up at this pit, and they all take a D6 damage, killing the mage immediately because he's got like a D4 hit points, right?
Yeah, of course.
And so I let one guy have a 18 double off strength because he'd always wanted to do that, and I figured we're just goofing off tonight anyway. So I'm like, all right, let me see your character sheets to check for breakage. And that guy's like, yeah, I don't know if you want to see my. I'm like, no, I do. So he hands me his character sheet. Here's what his character was carrying. He had a large chest strapped to his back that was filled with wizard's oil. Had like 20 of them in there.
Jenna,
so
you never know when you're going to need wizard's oil.
So that was his entire character design. He was just going to run around throwing Molotov cocktails and everything.
This is like a D&D instructional video. I mean, like...
You see, Jenna, let me check my rule cyclopedia. You see, in second edition D&D, the way that Thaco worked, it was very different from these modern Dungeons and Dragons.
Thaco was a good system!
Instead of ascending armor class, there was descending armor class. It was a very different system. You know, the initiative rolls would use a D6.
Half these vials break, and I'm like, all right, you're covered in wizard oil. The pit is filled with wizard oil. Is anybody holding a torch by chance? And then the remaining 3 live people all raised their hands like, yeah, I'm holding a torch. I'm like, then you're all dead. Well, thank you for the worst game I've ever run. You are all idiots. May God have mercy on your souls. And I got up and went and played Magic.
That's pretty good.
You have any idea how long it takes to roll up second edition characters? The campaign lasted 3 minutes. Oh, I'm still mad about that. Kevin played the Cheese Whiz. Kevin, if you're listening to this, go fuck yourself.
I believe it was a Reddit post or Tumblr or something. The guy talked about rolling up a first edition character. He was a fighter, had 1 HP. Very first thing they do, they come up to a locked door. They didn't have a thief in the party. I'll break down this damn door. Well, he rolls a 1 when he's trying to break it down. And so he gets to take some damage. But he only has 1 HP. And so he gets killed by the door. First thing.
I love that. That makes me so happy. Out of all the things I've ever done in Ravenloft, I've never had anybody murdered by a door.
Jenna, what do you got cooking?
Not D&D.
She's over there doing human
You're thinking
shit.
of Magic the Gathering. You're upset about what they've done to Aragorn.
No, I know nothing. I know nothing about. I know nothing about Magic the Gathering.
In Magic the Gathering, you can't stand when there's 2 colors of mana on a card.
No.
You can't stand it.
All right, here's a real story about me. I love this. So I subscribe to all the shitty subreddits for Magic, like Free Magic and Circle Jerking and all of those, right? And for the people who are listening to this don't know what I'm talking about. They're making a new Magic set based on Lord of the Rings, and it's really cool so far. All of the cards are really cool. But they're also doing that like fucking politically correct thing that they feel they need to do with everything now. And so for some reason they made Aragorn black in the art. The art for the card is Aragorn is black. And so I'm like reading the subreddit, but I haven't seen that card yet. And it's like there was a thread where somebody said, I can't believe they made Aragorn black. And I'm like, oh my God, why would Aragorn be a black card? That doesn't make any sense. So I went and looked it up, and there it was, is a green-white card. It still didn't register to me what they were talking about. So I'm like, oh, there's multiple versions of certain, like, in the last set, Brothers War, they had like a rare version of Urza, a mythic rare version of Urza, an uncommon version. So it must be like the uncommon version of Aragorn that is black. And then I finally like took a look at the art, and I'm like, oh, Okay. They're just virtue signaling, I guess. And that's okay. If that's what they want to do, that's what they do. I don't really care. Doesn't change anything. I'm not here for the art. I'm here for powerful cards doing cool shit. So
they just want to get that heat. That's what it is. It's not even so much as the good boy points of, oh man, look how great this is. This representation matters. No, they want the outrage. They want to have guys going, oh, would you look at this? Look what they've done now. Wizards of the Coast, more like Wizards of the Bullshit. Like, that's what they want. They want those YouTube guys angry all the time.
Oh yeah, because it's free. It's free signal boosting, right? It's like 110%. They know who plays Magic as angry white neckbeards. Because I don't know if you've ever been to a Magic the Gathering event, but there ain't a lot of other types of people there. It's generally angry white neckbeards.
So do you describe yourself as an angry white neckbeard?
I think that's very accurate. Yeah. I mean, Francis was a character, but I'm probably still angry about some shit. Actually, I'm not really that angry of a person. I don't take shit very serious anymore.
There's got to be like a difference between you and Francis.
Oh yeah. Well, Francis is who I was going to be. Like, if I had not made some right choices early on, I think Francis would have been me for the rest of my life, because that's who I was when I was 16. Like, I would smash a controller. I would like break shit. I would like get really mad at video games and stuff. And I just had a lot of anger issues because I went through some shit, you know? And so I got into therapy and I made some right decisions and met the right people and just got better. So I'm definitely not that person anymore, but you know, neither are any of these people that you watch on YouTube, all of these, like, I'm going to name a few, but like you inject your own person here, but like the Quartering or whatever, the Quartering doesn't actually give a shit about the stuff. He's just talking about it.
But like, you know, kind of going back to like, you know, you got yourself in a better place and, you know, you went to therapy and you got happy and you got healthy. Why risk it with the boxing stuff? Why risk falling down dead from this? If you found contentment in yourself and going to therapy and being happy, if you found all this contentment, why risk it? That's like such a huge risk.
So many psychedelics.
What?
Yeah, I made a video about it. I talked about it a little bit, but I recently hit as rock bottom as I think a person can get. And I had this guy in town who wanted to shoot a documentary. It might be up by the time you listen to this. His name is Mike Klum. He's got a YouTube channel with nothing on it yet. So like, go bookmark it and go follow him and tell him Boogie sent you. But he came and filmed at my house for 7 days and we were coming up with shit to do. And I'm like, hey, there's this Native American, like shaman who's wanted to help me, in the past. So like, you want to go do that? And it's like, dude, that would be the best thing in the world. So originally I did it just for the sake of clout. Like, I thought it would be an interesting thing to film. Turns out when you take 5 milligrams of penis envy mushrooms, that shit changes you as a person. And it really rocked my world. So
psychedelics makes you want to put yourself at risk in the ring?
No,
help me understand this. I'm telling you that
I now know that I'm at zero risk because this is my story and I'm writing it. And so I genuinely do not believe anything bad will happen in the ring because I don't want it to.
Okay.
Yeah. So I can go into this with the complete confidence of knowing that here's what happened when I did psychedelics. If you really want to hear the full story, I died.
Oh, please tell us.
Okay.
Please tell us.
Okay. So we went out in the middle of the woods and all this is in the documentary. I ended up pissing myself. I was so high, but I also find that as like proof that I left my body because like, I'm not going to piss myself willingly.
I will. I'll piss myself.
I'll piss on you for the right amount of money, but I will not. I will. But the point that I'm making is we went out in the woods and they gave me the mushrooms and I went to the ether and I saw the energy that makes up the universe and makes up me and you and realized that we were all God and realized that we were all each other and that we're all doing the same thing and that, you know, you are me and I am you and I am Wings and I am Keemstar and we're all just experiencing everything and we're the universe experiencing itself and it's fucking cool. And the story that the universe is writing for me does probably not have me dying in the ring. And if it does, that's okay. Because I just go back to the ether, baby. And it was awesome there. And I liked it. And then I get to come back as something else. And that's going to be awesome too. And so I'm just enjoying all of it. I don't really care anymore. I just don't even really care anymore. I'm just taking the happiness out of everything. And this is an opportunity that's laid in front of me. And I'm not going to let anything bad happen. But if it does, if that's what the story that I've written for myself is, and I don't think it is, but if it is, what a cool story. That's awesome, man.
You don't think you don't think that sounds a little reckless?
It does entirely, yeah.
It's
110%.
extremely reckless. Like this is my only thing with this. It's like something bad does happen. You know, you go to record a video, like say you do have a stroke, even if it's just like a mild one. Okay, you have a TIA.
Yeah.
You know, you throw out a clot, you have a mild stroke, you make a recovery. Is this what you is this how you explain it with like the psychedelics and the shrooms? I mean, and at that point, how does anybody empathize with that when you put yourself at risk because of psychedelics? Walk me through that.
I mean, I could have very well had a stroke or heart attack while doing psychedelics, and I'm never going to do them again. I got it out of the way, and I'm glad I did. I will not take that risk again, pretty certain. That said, if I ended up putting myself in the risk at this ring, the risk of being in the ring, I think, outweighs the risk of just staying here and being fat and not doing anything. Like if this is
diabetic?
the only,
I can't remember if you're diabetic.
No,
I'm
not diabetic.
You're
thank
not
goodness.
diabetic.
After the surgery and losing like 200 pounds, my A1C is 5.1 right now. It's insane how low it is.
That's actually pretty good. That's pretty good.
Yeah, my heart rate when I sleep, I got a new fancy bed because my doctor told me to get it, and it like tracks my sleep, and it's got the air mattress and the reclining back and stuff, and like I got that, and it's telling me my heart rate is 68 beats a minute while I'm resting. So like I'm killing it, man. I'm really lucky to still be alive, and I think the biggest issues I have going into the ring is not going to be stroke or heart attack or something like that. It's going to be lasting damage to like my jaw,
joints. You have joints, you have muscles, you have bones, and that's what I'm worried about. If you do something like you pop a knee, like just something happens and something goes awry, and hip problems.
At least I'll be in London,
joint problems,
where healthcare is free.
But you have at some point you got to go back home, and then you're in pain all the time.
I'm in pain all the time right now. Now
you've added even more now.
Yeah. It's a risk. I mean, I know going into it, it's a risk, and maybe people will not empathize with it, but I guess I'm looking for the people who will empathize with it. If other people are like,
is the bag for this, like, is it pretty okay to make this?
I mean, I used to make this back at my height. I made this in a month for sure.
Okay.
I certainly don't make it anywhere near this in a month anymore. So it is a pretty reasonable bag. I don't think Wings wants me talking about that. I don't think Keemstar wants me talking about the number.
I'm sure he doesn't. Not. But I'm just going to gauge that probably money wise, it's worth all these health risks. To do it.
But you know what I'm really fighting for here? You know what I'm really fighting for here? If I'm being honest with you, I'm fighting for my life. I'm fighting, like, I know, like, from my perspective, I know a stroke or heart attack is imminent and it's guaranteed. That's what will kill me most likely, right? Yeah. Specifically with the polycythemia vera stuff, right? So if I'm going to have a stroke or heart attack, I have the option. I can do it in my own bed, covered in my own filth with my dick in my hand, playing fucking Mario Brothers, or I can do it fighting for my life and fighting for trying to get into better shape and fighting for Wings. And, this also gives Wings a shot. That's cool too, right? Like Wings getting a shot, he deserves a shot.
But how is putting yourself in danger fighting for your life? There's other ways that you could fight for your life without putting yourself at such a huge risk for a lot of long-term problems that could come out of this.
You're not wrong.
It doesn't, you can work out and you could get yourself into shape, and you don't have to be like that without having a fight.
I think there's also the aspect of being able to do it visibly. I would like very much for the people who've watched me throughout the years, whether they've rooted for me and cared about me, I want them to see it happen. And what a better way to be visible than to stand in this ring and take out Wings of Redemption. That's a great way to do it. And I think that's probably worth the risk too, because if at the end of the day, I can show somebody that I can get my fat butt into a ring, if I can do that, if I can face these risks, if I can face these challenges, then they can face whatever they're facing.
I think you could do that with the before and after, like, weight loss journey, like, a series of videos of your own content, because you think about, like, you want your audience to see,
I will
say, do this. But the thing about it is that how is your audience going to feel if you get hurt?
How will my audience feel if I get hurt getting out of the tub tomorrow? How will my audience feel if I have that stroke or heart attack tonight? right? They're going to, like when that bad stuff happens, they're going to feel bad, right?
Yeah,
that's the reality.
Absolutely.
So I think this again reduces the risk by me having this motivation, having this opportunity, giving it my best shot. And I don't know, man, nothing ever comes to saying no to things. Most of the time when an opportunity presents itself, I've always been there to do it. I'm kind of reckless. I guess the reality of it is you have to be reckless to get into a boxing ring. You have to be reckless to be a wrestler. You have to be reckless to be a YouTuber to some degree.
No, I mean, and I actually will disagree that there's taking risks and there's being reckless. There's a difference between taking a risk for either, healthy fighters getting into the ring, like you said, starting YouTube, there's taking risks, and then there's being reckless. I think there's a big line there.
Here's what I will say. If their doctor looks at me and they're like, look, you can do this, but I strongly advise against it. You got like a 50%, 60% chance of coming out of that ring a different person. This will ruin you. If somebody tells me that, and I know that's the risk going into it, I'll have some heavy thinking to do. But
your primary doctor already said don't.
Yeah, he says it's a risk, but he's not one to give it numbers. And again,
I mean, it's a little bit hard, but like I think don't is a pretty indicative high number. When a doctor just tells you don't, that's priceless. You can't put like a number on that.
Yeah, well, I mean, Dr. Eddie, I love you, brother. He didn't exactly say no. He advised me. Which is what you want a doctor to do.
A doctor can't tell you what to do, but they can advise you.
Right.
They can explain to you risks and benefits, and I'm pretty sure that your risks outweighed any of the benefits here.
I'll be honest with you.
It is. Mm-hmm.
I still think Jordy's going to back out.
Is there an alternate? Is there somebody else who could step in?
I don't think so.
Not
that I know of. You know what? I'd love to fight.
I think you'd whoop DSP's ass.
Oh yeah, Phil. Can I shit talk Phil for a minute? I'm sorry, Phil, if you're listening to this. Okay,
but he's our number one fan.
Keemstar offered me and him and Wings like a $50,000 signing bonus to do a podcast for a year. And that's good money. And that's a signing bonus, not to mention ad revenue and everything else that would come in from a show like that. And I would love to sit down and bullshit once a week with Wings and Jordy and listen to them get mad about shit.
I would have listened to that podcast every week.
Everyone would. Everyone would. And Phil's like, oh, I'm not going to do it if Keemstar's involved. And I'm like, well, then are you going to hire a producer? Are you going to help get it done? Because that's what Keemstar is bringing to the table. Also, are you going to cut me a check for $50,000 as a signing bonus? Because that's what Keem's doing, right? So let's sign the contract. I'm not going to do anything with Keem. Phil is so good at saying no. If Phil was in my position right now, he'd be like, no, I don't want to do it. I'm going to take the safe play. I'm going to take every step of the way. But look at where being safe has got Phil. Phil is not in a great place, right?
No.
Everything I've done, every risk I've ever taken, some of them paid off really negatively and it sucked. But a lot of them paid really well off. And I'm so glad I took those risks. When we play Magic the Gathering, it's about minimizing risk in that game to some degree, same as we were playing poker and a lot of other games, right? But sometimes you just make the play, man. Sometimes you just make the play and you hope they don't have the counter spell. You hope they don't have whatever, the removal. You make the play. And Phil is just sitting there with his cards in his hand and his dick in the other hand.
So he was the only holdout. Like Wings was down. I know you were down.
Yeah.
Phil was the only holdout. Okay.
I'd have done it for $50,000. For $50,000, if you tell me that I could sit down and talk to Boogie and Wings for, a tight 45 every week or even every other week.
Right, exactly. And
I'm sure I'd come up with something. We'll read the phone book. We'll talk about movies we saw that week. You guys seen any good TV shows lately?
And people would listen to that because I know I'm going to argue with Wings. I know I'm going to argue with Phil. I know they're going to argue with each other. It's going to be an amusing, entertaining podcast. No matter what we bring up, our worldviews are different. Our politics are different. It's going to be just one of the best. I mean, it's going to be Phil complaining about his taxes all the time. Wings feeling bad for himself. Me saying just the stupid, crazy shit I always fucking say. And then, that's going to be one of the most entertaining shows ever put out there. And so since we can't get Phil on board, I guess what we're doing instead is this boxing thing. I hope, Phil, if you listen to this, brother, take the shot. Take the shot. What harm could come of it? Take the shot, man.
I think that bridge is burnt because after I watched I didn't watch the whole interview that he did last week, but I did see where he did talk when he talked to Keem. I think that bridge is burned. I don't think that's ever gonna happen.
Yeah, well,
it would be nice if it did, but
Phil was gonna burn it no matter what, because that's what Phil does, man. I understand learned helplessness, and I've done that to myself before. Like how? To some degree, I was Jerry Smith for a really long time from Rick and Morty. Like, I chose to be pathetic and to live a pathetic life and act pathetic ways and build a pathetic body as a way to protect myself. And I almost wonder if that's what Phil is doing. Either that or he could lack self-awareness. I don't know. But if you lack self-awareness, get into therapy, man. They'll show you. Maybe consider meeting a shaman and doing what I did, but it'll give you all the self-awareness you could ever need. Either of those routes.
So at what point for you was your decision to be like, you know what, I need to get myself into therapy and I need to turn it around?
I've always been in and out of therapy, but 6 months ago, you remember last March, I had to plead out to that stupid gun charge with the Frank Hassel situation.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. It's been almost exactly 1 year. I think it was March. Time does fly. And so I got slapped with 2 weeks probation, completely unsupervised probation. As long as I don't get arrested, I'm good. And then we're going to get struck from my record at the end of that 2 years, and it's basically sealed now. It doesn't show up on a background check. So I got a sweetheart deal considering how stupid I was with that gun. And I'm looking at my finances, I'm looking at my situation, I'm talking to my doctor. My doctor's like, man, we're gonna have to take you off this testosterone, and that's gonna suck for a while, but your red blood cell count's really high. And he's like, I'm like, what could be happening? He told me about the polycythemia vera as a possibility, and all of this shit's in my head. And I'm like, I don't know how to handle any of this. I also don't know how to function as a person. I've never been able to do this. I don't understand why the internet's always mad at me. I don't understand how people think or what they do. Am I a fucking human? Am I a lizard person? Am I Mark Zuckerberg's crotch spawn? Like, what the fuck is with me? And so this round of therapy, I got a really cool therapist, and he was someone who works with, every day he works at a hospital with children who are abused. And then as his night gig, he does phone therapy for adults who were once abused children. So this dude had my number, right away. He, the very first time I tried to bullshit him the slightest bit, he's like, I don't know about that, right? And he knew the way my brain worked, the damage that this shit had done to me, and he took me apart over the last 6 months. And people have wondered, what would he think if I was doing psychedelics? Well, they're definitely not allowed to tell you to go do drugs, right? But I'm like, this is something I have done. Help me with the fallout, and let's see how it goes.
Yeah, but doing the psychedelics, how many times was that a thing?
Twice. I did 2 things, and I don't think I ever need to go back to that well. It's there if I need it. But
it's not good to have something that could possibly affect your way of thinking for the rest of your life.
Oh, it did. And I was very lucky
because you're going to have teachings and you're going to have exercises that a therapist can't really get with,
Right. Yeah. I mean,
it's something. Those are two contradictory. Those are pretty contradictory things.
Well, so it's not, because if you look at this, ketamine treatments that they're doing, they're also doing LSD, and they're also doing Molly, or what's Molly's real name, or what is it actually called? Ecstasy or whatever. I forget the MDMA. They're doing therapy with this stuff in London, in Switzerland, in the United States, where you get really high on these drugs, and then they do the therapy while you're still high, and then also days afterwards. And it creates this neuroplasticity in the brain, and that's the entire point of doing it. I'm not doing this shit for recreation. I'm doing it to reset the brain and allow me to re-sculpt it a little bit. And my shaman is very good at what he does. He's talking me through some bad experiences. He's giving me therapy as a therapist would. And then 2 days later, I made sure that I was scheduled each Tuesday for my therapy. So 2 days later, I'm like, hey, here's what I've been thinking about. Help me think about it differently. And so I had both of those people teaching me how to think better. And
so how did they go hand in hand where it seems like you have something with a shaman that's going to be a little bit more alternative?
It's
and
not.
Then you're going
it's
to
not.
Have,
they are hand in hand. They are the same principles.
I would definitely say like doing shrooms is pretty alternative.
Jenna, like you don't trust an Indian? Come on.
Okay.
Native Americans.
Here's what
this is a Native American medicine man. It's holy medicine.
All right. Let's imagine, Jenna, let me ask you, okay?
Yeah.
Let's imagine somewhere in your town, there's a nice convenience store that you like to go to, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Now, you have two different methods to get to that convenience store. One is to hop in your car and drive directly there.
Mm-hmm.
And the second is to walk in the opposite direction and make a huge circle through neighboring towns and then coming back from the opposite direction into that convenience store. Both are going to get you there. One just gets you there quicker. That's what therapy plus psychedelics does. Those two things combined gets you there pretty damn quick, whereas just regular talk therapy is going to get you there eventually. And so, and that's what all the research is showing. That's not me talking. That's all the research.
This is just like, this is something I've honestly never even heard of.
Yeah, I can recommend some like,
Jenna,
I can recommend.
There's all sorts of crazy stuff people.
No, I mean, I know that there are people that do
the ibogaine and the ayahuasca.
But do you want to know the fundamental truth that both therapy and psychedelics and I believe everything else will bring you to? There is a fundamental truth in this universe, and I can do it without any of the frou-frou bullshit, without any of the spirituality. I can tell you, scientifically speaking, what all of this is trying to get us to. The entire human experience. Here's exactly what it is. Therapy wants you to do two things: love yourself and love the world you're in. Psychedelics wants you to do two things: love yourself and love the world you are in.
Therapy is supposed to give you tools to be able to cope.
Of course.
With the world that you're in and figure out.
Of course. But you know what my therapist told me 6 months ago?
Not so much.
I need tools
it's not
to
so much love yourself and love the world you're in.
But you know what my therapist told me 6 months ago when I told him I wanted to beat my eating disorder? Do you know what he told me? He said, the way that you'll beat your eating disorder is by learning to love yourself, because you right now hate yourself. And we have to fix that. And you will not love yourself enough to do the work until we teach you to love yourself. You just got to do it. You got to do it. You got to listen to me.
It was in you the whole time, Boogie. You could have loved yourself the whole time.
It was the friends you made along the way.
It was.
Exactly.
Of yourself.
And so, therapy obviously has given me tools. Like, for example, I went through a breakup, and normally I handle these breakup things really badly. I catastrophize, and I start talking about hating on myself, and I'm such a shitty person. I wasn't good enough for her, and it doesn't work out. And then I cry for a few days, and I eat like shit, and I have the pity party, right? Classic Boogie shit.
But not even classic Boogie. I think that's actually just pretty normal for anybody going through a hard
It's not
breakup.
beneficial. And so what my therapist taught me to do was, he taught me, number one, to take care of myself during that period of time and do nice things for myself, and not to catastrophize, and learn replacement techniques. And you know, I was resistant to all of that. So where the psychedelics, in my opinion, this is not the science talking, but this is my opinion, it allows me to get the hell out of my own way and start doing that.
Do you remember, like, when you're like on these trips, do you remember anything?
I remember everything. Yeah, I remember
really?
I remember everything we talked about.
Yeah, describe.
What did you do? What happened? What is the ego death? Get us from the first time you've walked in, you've sat down in his teepee, the Native American shaman has handed you, I assume it's a drink. I don't know.
Yeah, and the first time
he's handed you a cup.
First time it was a handful of mushrooms. And you'll be able to watch this on that documentary when it finally drops.
Oh, it's on tape.
Yeah, it's on tape. We taped all of it. I have the footage right there in front of me.
Your trip is on tape?
Yeah.
Is it going on your channel, or is somebody else getting this?
No, it's on Mike's channel. It's his.
You should have done this for your channel.
I mean, I can do that too. I have access to the footage. I'm allowed to do what I want to with the footage.
You should have done it. You should have done it for years. You shouldn't have given that up to anybody else.
Yeah, Mike was really good to me, and I really want Mike to be successful on YouTube. I mean, he's definitely a character for sure, but he's very good at what he does, and I think he'll be very successful, and I'm glad to be part of his journey. That said, I took these shrooms, and at first I just felt like the usual amount of high you get from like smoking weed or doing edibles. This is very similar to doing edibles. And I told the camera that, and then my shaman's like, hey, let's forget about the cameras. Let's forget about the cameramen, and I want to talk you through some stuff. And I'm like, okay. He's like, are you starting to see anything, any visuals or anything like that? And I'm like, not really. He goes, look at the moon and tell me if you see anything weird. And I could see like the moon was wavy and moving. And it's like, isn't that interesting? And I'm like, yeah. I told him that it was wavy. He's like, isn't that interesting? He's like, what beat is it moving to? And I'm like, I don't know. It's like, is it the same beat as the waterfall? And I started listening to the water, and I could feel the water coming in and out. And I'm like, oh, that's my heart rate. That's my heart rate changing that. And then I realized my heart rate is changing that, because I'm part of the universe, and the universe is part of me, and we're observing ourselves, and it's awesome. And at one point he's like, are you starting to see fractals? And I'm like, yes. And he goes, close your eyes. And the weirdest shit happened when I closed my eyes. I could still see the world, but instead of like seeing the fractals overlaying the world, all I saw was the fractals that make up everything. It was like seeing the Matrix. It was cool. And the weirdest thing was I could see him and I could see his dog, but I could not see the cameraman. I could not see Mike because they weren't tripping. Me and him were.
The world melted away.
Yeah, literally. So I could, like, with my eyes closed, I could still see everything except the two people that weren't on that same wavelength. And I'm like, dude, I can't see them anymore. He goes, don't worry about them. They're not here. It's just me and you right now. And I'm like, awesome. That's great. I mean, are you talking out loud? You know, like stuff like that. And then he's like, how do you feel? I'm like, dude, I've never been happy before. This is the first time I've ever been happy. Why? He's like, because you're seeing the world for what it is, man. You're seeing the universe as it exists. You know, and I'm like, why don't we all have this information if that's true? He's like,
because you mean, what does it mean though?
So here's where I get frou-frou, and a lot of people are going to hate what I have to say, and you'll probably hate it, Jen. I think based on what little of the conversation we've had today, you're probably going to push back on this, and I don't blame you one bit. Okay. All right. So Jim Carrey said that he used to think he was a guy experiencing the universe, but he realizes now he's the universe experiencing some guy. So this is the hard thing to understand, but Jenna, you are God, and I am God, and Jim Carrey is God. We are all God, and God is all powerful, all creative. I mean, he did it, and he exists outside in a form that I cannot even potentially begin to comprehend. But at some point, he said, I'm going to create a world, and now the world exists. And then he wanted to experience it, so he made himself a Jenna. He made himself a Boogie. He made himself a Jim Carrey. He made himself an everything, or herself, or itself. He created this universe and purposely rolled up a Boogie character, like in Dungeons and Dragons, like in Grand Theft Auto, like in any RPG video game, and decided to experience this world as that person, as that character. And when I die, I will just go back to the real. Are you familiar with the egg theory? You can look this up. There's a YouTube video about it called from Kurzat. I think that's how you pronounce it. But they talk about the egg theory, and the egg theory is that you are a God creating an experience that creating an experience in a universe that you've made for yourself to experience. And in that case, it's because you're a God who's training inside an egg. You're growing and learning to become a God so you can go on to the other side. I don't know if that's accurate. I wouldn't say that. I don't know it
sounds very disassociative.
It probably is.
This is extremely disassociative.
But here's what I've learned from this belief, okay? It has taught me, number one, to be very kind to myself, because I chose this. I picked this. I picked this body, this place, this time, those parents, this world. I picked it. And so I'm living this life like I fucking picked it. I'm no longer mad about it. I'm no longer sad about it. I'm no longer upset. I'm living it like it's an RPG that I'm enjoying playing. And I've also learned that I need to be nice to other people because they are also me. And that doesn't mean I won't draw my boundaries from time to time. It doesn't mean I probably won't lose my temper from time to time. Maybe sometimes I have hurt people, and maybe that was part of the role that I needed to play to shape their lives in the way that it went. But by God, now that I have this knowledge, I'm going to do everything I can to not hurt anybody spiritually ever again, though I will knock Wings' ass out if I can. But that's all in good and fine. I don't want to hurt anybody spiritually ever again. And that's what I've learned from this experience. And so even if I'm wrong, which it's entirely possible I am, it's probably likely. I believe this the same way I believe my dog is in my lap right now, and he is. I believe it as much as I believe I'm talking into my microphone as I am right now. But that said, even if I'm wrong, the flip side is I'm going to be really kind to myself. I'm going to live the shit out of this life, and I'm going to be really nice to you guys, you know?
It's a good attitude to have, man.
Yeah. And
I'm glad to hear that you're in a better headspace.
I mean, it sure beat the poor pity me version of me after my divorce and the self-destructive me. And
seen some very angry clips of Boogie. Like I tuned in for a live stream once and was like, ooh, I don't know if Boogie seems like he's not doing so good.
Oh, I was not doing so good.
He's on camera, not doing good. It's like, this is bad.
Yeah, it was a bad time, man. It was.
So are you like now not engaging with people who, I don't know, like say somebody like criticizes you, say there's like a thread, there's a thread on like subreddit like criticizing you, like now with this new Boogie, like how do you deal with people like that?
So what I'm attempting to do, but I'm an imperfect person, so I'm going to mess it up. But what I'm attempting to do is remember that person's doing two things. Number one, they are me. They're a version of me, and I'm a version of them. So I try to think of it from that perspective. Like that person is just as valid and important as me, and they're criticizing me. But when criticizing me, they're also criticizing themselves. And secondly, they're playing an important role right now. They're playing that character the way they're meant to play that character, the way they're supposed to play that character. And so I'm not mad about it anymore. I'm not angry about it anymore. I'm not going to try to change their mind anymore. And I've chosen to comment on it a few times. But I'm trying now not to even do that because I realize that's a pointless thing to do. It's like somebody today, for example, somebody said, well, Boogie flagged my video down. You should beat the hell out of him, Wings. And I'm like, I didn't flag your video down. I've never flagged a video down. If I was going to flag a video down, there's dozens I would have done long before yours, but I don't do that. Very good. And why would I? That doesn't make any sense. It's not going to change anything, right? If somebody's wrong about me, they're wrong about me. They have every right to be wrong about me. And some people have called me out rightfully so, and I'm sure she wouldn't take that down, but whatever. But did I change that guy's mind? No, he still thinks I'm lying. He still thinks I did it. There's no change in that dude's mind. He believes what he wants to believe. It was a complete waste of my time to tell him the truth because he's never going to accept or believe it. And in fact, that could have done harm because now he thinks, oh, Boogie's lying directly into my face. Now he's another crazy person that shows up at my front door one day. I don't think this person would actually do that. But that's, if I had never responded to Frank Castle.
Well, you know how to not respond the next time it does happen.
Yes. I know to leave my gun and it's fucking safe, man.
Yeah.
I can't believe. Oh God, the trigger discipline and everything is just so good. Oh, what were you thinking, Boogie?
Oh, I will tell you. You want an exclusive?
Yeah,
I'll tell you exactly what I was thinking.
Walk us through that.
So, Boogie exclusive.
So yeah, you got to ring at your doorbell.
Okay, let's back it up a little bit.
Yeah.
So, somebody comes in my live stream one night and says Frank Castle's coming to fuck with you. He's gonna fucking hurt you. He's gonna fucking ruin your life. And I'm like, well, I really hope not. He knows where you live. He's saying he's coming to your fucking house. I'm like, well, I really hope not. That's super fucked up. So what I did was, here's my first mistake. I Googled him and I saw that he was following me on Twitter. So I DM'd him and I'm like, hey, are you like a legitimate crazy person or is this a bit? Because I don't mind playing heel if this is a bit. And he said some really crazy shit. But then Ethan Ralph told me, he's like, he's just a comedian. Don't worry about that guy. And I'm like, okay. He's like, let me put you on a podcast together. You guys can clown each other. It'll be funny. And so we go on this podcast and I'm playing the Boogie character as best I can, which is very close to the real me, but whatever. I'm like trying to be uber nice. What happens if I come to your house? Well, I'm just going to take you out for dinner, man. I'm not taking this motherfucker out to dinner, but that's what I think I'm supposed to say for whatever reason. That's the Boogie mindset, right? And so eventually he's like, Boogie, I need you to listen to me. I'm coming to your house, okay? And when I do, it's going to be the worst fucking day of your life. I'm going to ruin you. It's going to be worse than the day your parents fucking molested you. Do you get that? And I was like, cool. Well, now I'm done playing the bit. I'm done messing around. Stay the fuck off my property. If you come here, I'll fucking kill you. And then I left the podcast. So fast forward 6 weeks later, this motherfucker's in my hometown taking photos, tweeting them at me. I'm in your town, you fat fuck. What are you going to do about it, you pussy? And I'm like, oh, I know exactly what I'm going to do about it. So I reach out to Keemstar. And I'm like, hey, dude, you told me this guy's never coming to my house. He's fucking in my town. What do I do? And Keemstar's like, I'll put you on a podcast. Let me work something out. So I end up calling the cops the night before this dude shows up. And I'm like, listen, what if this dude shows up? And the cop walks me through it. Hey, keep your door closed. Call 911. What if he attempts to enter my home? If he's on your property, you have every right to defend yourself. I'm like, okay, cool. That's what I'll do. Turns out that ain't right. But cops aren't always right, are they? So I go on this podcast with Keemstar, and at this point, this guy's been in my town for like 48 hours. I haven't slept. Like, this has been keeping me awake. I've got my doors barred. I don't know what this guy's capable of. I don't know if he's coming to film and clown on me, or I don't know if he's coming through the windows to shoot me. So my anxiety's through the fucking roof. So I don't sleep for 2 days. And I get on this podcast with Keemstar.
Wait, so the cops did tell you could defend yourself?
Yeah. They can say whatever the fuck they want. It doesn't make it true. Cops can lie to you. You should know that. Cops can fucking straight up lie to you. A cop can look at you and say, we have your fingerprints at the scene. And that doesn't have to be true. They can say, we have a witness that puts you there. That doesn't have to be true. Cops can straight up fucking lie to you. They can announce
that they're gay and that they kiss each other at night.
So anyway,
doesn't mean it's true.
So anyway, this dude's like, I go on the podcast and I'm in full dissociative PTSD Steve mode. And I'm like, hey, if you come on my property, I'm going to kill you. And I can't wait to fucking kill you.
Okay, but the only thing is like they said you could defend yourself, but firing out a warning shot isn't quite defending yourself.
Right, exactly.
That's
and on top of
totally different.
And on top, it gets so much worse. It gets so much worse. I'll tell you everything. So anyway, the next, I stay up all night thinking this guy's coming and he never does. And I'm like, okay, I guess we're good. So the next morning I have like this air conditioner guy show up and I'm like helping him get into the air conditioner and get through my house and stuff and wrangle the dogs. And then Frank is on my front porch taking photos and shit.
If you would have shot him, you wouldn't have gotten in trouble. You know that, right?
Probably not. Yeah, that's probably true.
You would have actually, none of this would have happened if you would have actually shot him.
Well, so
self-defense.
So the motherfucker's banging down my door and I've got my gun. And we've called 911 at this point, and I know the cops are on their way. And I'm like, you know what? Fuck this guy, man. I'm going to go try to put him in his places. But that was my thought process. It was a stupid thought process. But I'm like, if I get killed doing this, that's fine. I don't mind dying. Like, I've never minded that. But hopefully that's not going to happen here. And hopefully I can get this guy off my fucking lawn. So I go out front and I try to talk to him, but I'm not in my right state of mind. I haven't slept in 3 days, and you definitely don't point a gun at something. Here's what I learned when it comes to gun discipline: you don't point your gun at something that you don't intend to destroy, and we don't pull the trigger for any other reason than to destroy it. That's true gun discipline. I was not following those rules because I had never been properly trained.
How long had you had the gun?
Was it a 357?
Couple of years. I knew that eventually someone was going to end up on my fucking property, so we'd had it for a couple of years.
And I had how to use it.
I
did.
You
had it for a couple of years.
I went to a gun range. I fired it a bunch of times, and I fired some other weapons too, and filmed it on YouTube and stuff. And I wanted people to know that we had a gun. I wanted people to know because the internet had turned really against me, and I was getting a lot of like scary death threats and shit. And I wanted to make sure people knew that I was able to protect myself.
Going to like a gun range isn't like a basic safety course.
Yeah, I know. In retrospect, I fucked up really bad.
Do you still have the gun?
Let's for legal purposes, I will not comment on that.
Okay.
But that said, also because like let's say I do have the gun, that could cause legal issues, and if I say I don't have the gun, that puts me at risk. So it's better just not to say anything.
Ooh, that means he could or he could not.
Right.
Let's leave it up to the listener's imagination.
Exactly.
What do you imagine?
Right.
Let us know in the comments.
Comment down below.
Right. So the cops show up, and I think I'm the good guy here. So I handed them audio footage of the thing, and I gave them the Ring doorbell footage and all this other stuff. And then, of course, they hit me with a charge a year later. And it's rightfully so. I don't think it was the right charge. I don't think aggravated assault fully was exactly what I should have been found guilty for. I think certainly firing in city limits was more accurate. But my prosecutor told my lawyer that he wanted to make an example of me because it was such a high-profile case. And Northwest Arkansas had been getting a lot of gun violence in that year. And he knew that it would make us look tough on gun violence, so he was not going to walk away from the felony. Like, we're absolutely not backtracking from the felony charge. He will take the felony charge. We'll make sure it doesn't stay on his record, but we're going to have that. And so that's where we start our negotiations. And we negotiated for like a year, and then eventually they got tired of negotiating and put out their final offer, and we took it. And at the end of the day, like, I should not have pulled that trigger. I shouldn't have opened my door, and going all the way back, I should have never engaged with this person. And that is bringing it back to the point that we were talking about. I absolutely made my own bed there by giving this guy my energy, my time, my attention. And I deserved everything that happened from that decision forward. And I've paid the price, and I accept it. And it is what it is. And at the end of the day, like, do you have every right to defend yourself? I think if I had not pulled that trigger, I think if I just let him walk away, which he inevitably was going to do once he found out the cops were coming. I think.
Totally. Totally. Like,
you know what the weirdest thing about that experience was? So he really liked the idea of calling me homosexual slurs. He really liked that.
He's dropping them hard on that
tape,
Jenna.
Right. But then at the end, and he blurts this out of his own tape. As he was leaving, he said, "Go fuck yourself, N-word." Now, I've been called a lot of things in my life. And, calling me a homosexual slur kind of makes sense. You don't know what I do in my private life. It is possible that I'll wake up tomorrow and suck a dick. That is possible. It is possibility. It is absolutely not possible for me to wake up black. That has confused me to this moment.
But remember, Boogie, you're God and you can do anything. So you can make
That's
yourself
true.
black if you want to.
I still have.
I woke up black last week.
All it takes is a couple of shrooms.
I mean, I guess eventually I will be every person of color. That's neat.
You go to bed as Aragorn the white. You wake up as Aragorn the black.
And we were talking about, by the way, Dungeons & Dragons before we started rolling. You asked me a question about racial diversity in Dungeons. What was the question?
Oh, yes. It was about dwarves and elves and how much fun it is.
I'm just racist against orcs.
In my mind, the arc that every Dungeons & Dragons good campaign has to have, it's the same one that's in that movie, The Patriot, where Donald Logue's character is just the meanest racist and hates everybody. I can't stand elves. I hate elves. They're the worst. And then by the end of the movie, he's standing there beside the elf and he says, "It's been an honor to fight beside you."
Yeah.
An honor.
Yeah.
That's the arc. That's what you want in the fantasy racism of Dungeons and Dragons, where dwarves and elves hate each other. Or it's just, I hate you, little guy. I hate knife ears, and it's back and forth. It turns into that.
So I know Wizards of the Coast, who makes Dungeons and Dragons, they don't want the phrase race to even be involved in the game anymore.
It's species now. Species.
Right. And then, they don't want you, writing stories about that or role-playing stories.
They don't even like the drow.
That's interesting.
They don't like the drow anymore. The drow... Oh, Jenna, the drow are such a great... I always say that the orcs are bad, but they're not... They're almost as bad as the drow. The drow are the worst, because the drow are slavers. The drow are a matriarchy, so all men are subservient to their women. It's crazy what the drow are up to.
They're all just cucks.
It's a cuck society.
Nice.
An underground dark elf cuck society. That's what the dark elf drows are. And then there's the exceptions to the rule. You have your Dazurians and all these crazy characters and things. But for whatever reason, they want to portray, actually the drow, they're not all slavers. And actually, none of them are slavers anymore. They've changed. They're a totally different race now. Now they're all mostly good guys. In a world where everybody gets along and everybody's friendly, well, what the hell's the adventure? Who are you fighting against?
Yeah, if you don't talk about slavery, it's suddenly not going to exist. It's not like there's a bunch of children making iPhones right now, right? No. What the fuck? We're all wage slaves, for fuck's sakes. We are slaves. You're gonna pretend slavery doesn't exist in your fantasy game? What does that fix? What does that change? How about maybe we explore the concepts of slavery so that we become more self-aware of what wage slavery is doing to this fucking country and to the people of it, and then maybe that's it. Maybe that's why they're burying it. Maybe because they don't want you thinking critically about yourself.
I think they're burying it because, on the one hand, you have, we're going to set out and we're going to free the slaves and we're going to be heroes. We're the best guys in the world. And on the other hand, you have the rowdy players who are like, actually, we captured these bandits. Let's sell them to the drow.
Yeah, I get. Okay. Okay.
There's the two hands of that is, well, man, how ruthless are we? We sold a bunch of dudes into slavery to the drow, and then we spent all the gold on whores and whiskey.
Dude, I'm like a 48-year-old white guy, and I'm gonna fuck up right now, and I'm gonna say it anyway. But
don't say the N-word, Boogie.
I'm going to say Nostradamus, Nickelback. Naughty boys. Okay. What I am going to say is I don't understand progressiveness anymore. A lot of times it just doesn't make sense to me anymore.
Okay. What don't you understand about it?
I don't understand what making Aragorn black would achieve in any way.
Racial equality, duh.
I don't understand
World
what taking
peace.
Drows out of the game makes. I don't I don't know. You know what? Like, for example, the whole Harry Potter thing, right? And everybody's like, don't buy that game, don't buy that game, don't buy that game. And I get on one hand, like if you're a trans person, you're like, dude, I'm asking you to do the most basic thing in the world. Don't play that fucking video game. Do that one nice thing for me. It's so easy to not play a video game. I get that perspective. I understand that perspective. But if I go buy that video game, if I go play it, I genuinely don't know that it harms a trans person any more than me eating a Chick-fil-A once a month does, right? You know, and
it doesn't.
Once a month,
right? It doesn't at all.
Right. And so my thought process is, how about this? How about I am friends with a trans person? Because I am, my friend Emily, okay? And how about I hire a trans person? I have. How about I treat a trans person with love and respect? Those are all things I do. And if I'm doing that shit, then I can play whatever fucking video game I want. I genuinely don't understand why the fuck I can't play. I mean, I did. I played it. I haven't played much of it, but I bought it. I also bought it for my friend Emily because she wanted to.
They said so.
Right.
When they/them said you can't play it or you're killing people, that should be enough right there. Because they/them said it.
Well, unfortunately, I can't see the logic in that. And if I genuinely thought that when I press start, a trans person got the shit beat out of them, I would never press start.
Millions of people are now dead because Boogie played 30 minutes of a Harry Potter video game.
I mean, like, I guess the argument is also made that if you spend money on this game, it will help further the franchise, which will help further J.K. Rowling, who's already a fucking billionaire.
This game
She's already a billionaire.
Yeah, I think unless J.K. Rowling,
it's gonna be fine.
Like if J.K. Rowling suddenly just bet all of her money on crazy stuff, if she decided, you know what, I'm going to take my $9 billion and I'm going to bet on Wings of Redemption. He's going to win it all.
Yeah. And
if she did that and it turned out like actually Boogie lit him up, I just don't see her doing that.
You know, I've been mad at J.K. Rowling before, but now that she bet on fucking Wings, I'm pissed.
Yeah.
That's some fucked up shit, Rowling.
I didn't care for your opinions on things, Boogie.
I don't know, man.
And I don't care for you, Jenna. I'm J.K. Rowling.
Do you know what I don't really get? If again, get myself in trouble, but I don't care.
Uh-oh.
I don't get being mad at each other all the time over opinions, right? Like,
this makes me mad.
Yeah, like I don't understand the point of, like, I get memeing on it and fucking around about it and making jokes about it and all that stuff, right? And I mean, I get the idea that I should be nice to other people and I should be nice to diverse people of different races and ideologies and all this other shit. But I'm also like an American, and the age that I was growing up in, we were all told to tolerate each other. And I don't mean tolerate bigots. I'm not saying if there's a Klan member in your town, run them the fuck out. Fuck that guy, right? What I'm saying is you might vote different, you might worship different, you might live different, and that's okay. And so I just need to tolerate everybody. But the flip side of that is there's going to be some straight white Christians in your town, and you probably have to tolerate them as long as they're not harming others. And I liked that world. I liked the world where you may not agree with everything your neighbor is doing, but they're still your neighbor and they're still an American, and that's what matters. And that's the world I fucking try to live in every day. And maybe it isn't enough for some people that maybe I should hate people who think differently than me, but I don't. And I can't imagine living that way. I can't imagine it.
Boogie and his coexist bumper sticker.
So you don't hate landlords anymore?
Well, most landlords kind of fucking suck, if I'm being honest.
Hey, buddy, I'm a landlord.
Are you good? Do you fucking are you a landlord in Arkansas? Do you know what a landlord in Arkansas is required to do? I only
evict on Christmas Eve and only single mothers.
Do you know what landlords are required to do in the state of Arkansas? Fucking nothing. They don't have to provide a livable space. You sign a contract with them. If there's no roof on the fucking thing, you still owe them money.
Well, why would you sign a contract if it didn't have a fucking roof?
Because no, I'm saying the roof gets blown off. The roof collapses.
Open air room. It's an open air room. You know, in our tradition, this is it allows the skylight in.
I've never actually been mad at a landlord, even ones that have fucked me over. Except the one that let shit rain into my apartment. I wasn't too happy with that guy. I guess I was temporarily mad at that guy. But like, I'll tell you,
temporarily.
Do you know the
two
people? Do you know the two people I hate the most in the world?
Jenna and Charles?
Yeah, fuck. No, Jake and Logan Paul. I actively dislike.
They kind of suck. They suck.
Yeah, I actively
Because
dislike.
they did a video with Salvo 10 years ago.
Well, number one, okay, Jake fucking personally dissed me. I don't know if I've told people this story, but I was at this YouTube convention with like Matt Pat and the Wings guy and the slow mo guys, and I'm like, we're in this locked room and we're all meeting each other throughout these like 3 days of shit. And I get a chance to talk to pretty much every YouTuber there, and everybody's at least cordial, right? And so at some point I see Jake and I'm like, well, he's one of the only people I haven't talked to. I guess I'll go talk to Jake. And I'm like, hey, Jake Paul, nice to meet you, man. He goes, sup. And then like walks away like I fucking didn't exist. And there's nowhere for you to go. We're in a fucking room waiting for Cardi B to come fucking talk to us. You're not leaving. You just don't want to talk to me. Like Jake Paul might be financially better than me, but you're not like a fucking better me as a person, right? We're all people. Go fuck yourself, Jake. Yeah. And then on top of that, Logan did the whole apocalypse thing, which fucked over a lot of people. And
that's
so
a
like
lot of things.
But I spend 0 hours a day being mad at those guys. I'll use them as my best example because they are my best example, but I genuinely don't give that big of a shit about it. They suck as people and they actively harm my community every single day. And I really wish they fucking wouldn't, but I'm not going to waste any of my time thinking about them or talking about them or tweeting about them or writing videos about them or fucking posting about it on Discord. I can't understand that way of life. I just don't. It doesn't make sense to me. But I mean, who am I to judge anybody else, right? But this is not how I want to live my fucking life. I don't want to live my life mad all the time about shit I can't fix.
Boogie wants to. How does Boogie want to live his life now in 2023?
Yeah, what's Boogie doing?
I'll tell you how I'm living my life every single day.
2023 Boogie.
Here's how I live my life every single day. Day in my life right now, okay? I wake up. I play with my dogs. I take them outside. We sit and we look at the sun. I eat some tuna for breakfast. It generally is my breakfast of choice right now. I get on the internet and I start looking and seeing what's happening in the gaming world that I might want to talk about today or what's happening in current events. I start writing in my head. I start scripting in my head because I love making YouTube videos. I love live streaming. I love doing shows like this. I love it. And so I'm doing something I love. And then I take my dogs for a nice walk. And maybe today's the day I go shopping. Maybe today's the day I go to the gym. Maybe it's the day I hang out with one of my roommates. On Saturdays, I hang out with my huge friend group and we hang out. I come into my room, my studio, I film or I live stream. I do the thing. Then I go do some more working out and do some self-care. And I enjoy the time that I have. And I enjoy the things that I get to have. And I enjoy my puppies and I enjoy my friends and I enjoy my life and I enjoy my dogs. And then I go to bed hoping that when I go to bed that night, I did something productive with my day, that I made my life a little bit better. Maybe I made somebody else's life a little bit better. Maybe in the perfect world, I did both. Hopefully I enjoyed a meal that was good for me. Hopefully I enjoyed a show or a game with a friend. And that's what I want to do for every day for the rest of my life. I want to keep doing this career. I want to keep enjoying my time with my friends and my family and my puppies. And I just want to live it simple and easy. And shit, I'm done trying to live a big life. Living a big life was fun for a while, but
contentment.
Yeah.
What a real weird sicko you are, Boogie.
It's all about
How
contentment.
dare you say those things?
Content Boogie.
How
Boogie.
dare you want to live a good life
and
tell you, enjoy things. What a monster.
I'll tell you, I discovered something really interesting about myself. And if somebody made it this far into this fucking podcast, maybe it can help them too, okay? Listen, I realized what depression and anxiety are. Anxiety for me was trying to control things. I wanted to control the outcome. I wanted to control the future. I wanted to control the present. I wanted to control the past. I wanted uber super control of everything. And I couldn't. And since I couldn't have that, I was anxious about what could happen because I couldn't control it. And I was depressed because I couldn't control those outcomes. So I chose not to participate in the things I couldn't control. And what I've learned through 6 months of therapy, what I've learned through these 2 psychedelic trips is that I can't control any of this. I'm here to witness it. I'm here to experience it. And what an incredible gift it is to experience it. All the good and the bad that I've experienced, it's been a fucking miracle. I wrote this the God version of us wrote this, rolled up this character, created, role played it. Why would I be anxious about the story that he wrote? I can't change it. And why would I be depressed about the story he wrote? Because it's a cool fucking story. And that's true for everybody listening. You can't control these things. What you can do is observe them. You can't control them, but you can control how you feel about them. And with enough practice and enough time, you can learn to love these experiences. And I have learned to do that, and I'm happier than I've ever been, which is to say I'm finally at least a little bit happy most days.
So, Jenna, where can we find you online? It's at Dojangles on YouTube.
Yep, and Twitter. And
yep, I am at Charles Kahn on YouTube. All the D&D stuff. Everybody loves D&D stuff. It's going to be rolling out real soon. I'm the meme bastard. All the memes. Everybody knows the memes. Boogie2988, looking for that documentary. Gonna see him do some.
Dude, are you gonna let me come play D&D with you at some point? I would fucking kill to play D&D with you.
That would be cool. I would love to have
stream it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
The craziest team. Yeah. It'd be fun.
Yeah,
we can do it, Boogie. We can make it happen.
I want to make it work. A morbidly obese fighter orc who. Who gets bonus
once
hit points.
We put it on my schedule. Once we put it on the schedule, then it's happening,
dude. And just because I knew you like it, he fucking hates dwarves for some reason.
Like, this is dwarfism.
You know, Boogie, I am a long-time dwarf fanatic.
Not this orc. Thing. Not this orc.
But that's for another episode on another day. This has been Real Weird Sickos, Charles Kahn, the Meme Bastard, Dojangles, and Boogie2988. I think we're gonna sign off.
Dude, thanks for having me.
That's it. I think that's
thank you for coming.
It's
Appreciate
been a delight,
it for sure.
Yep, life consumes life. Let's get out of here.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.